In this presentation, we're going to use the pay bills feature. In other words, we have bills that have been entered in the past. Now we're going to be paying those bills, deciding which bills to pay, and paying those bills. Let's go with Xero. Here we are in the Get Great Guitars dashboard. We're now going to be opening up our trial balance. We're going to say the accounting drop down and go on down to our trial balance and our favorite reports there. As that opens up, or when it opens up, we're going to duplicate the tab. We're going to go on up to the tab up top, right click on that tab and duplicate it. So there's our tab. I'm then going to go over to our flow chart. This is in the QuickBooks desktop just to consider the flow chart. Last time we had entered the bills. Now notice we entered the bills directly, basically kind of like writing a check or writing an expense form at that point in time. You can imagine that being the case. Oftentimes if you have the bills at the end of the year, you got the utilities bill, the phone bill and whatnot, you just write a check for them and directly write a check. However, you also might be entering those bills into the system, entering the bills with a bill that you then pay later. Both methods have their pros and cons. If you enter the bills into the system, oftentimes, and this often will be the case if you're a larger type of organization as well, you'll have more bills that you want to enter into the system and then sort. But even like the normal day-to-day kind of bills, if you were to take the bill that you got from the phone company and enter it into the system at the point in time you got it, you would be entering it into the system closer to the point in time that you actually use the phone service, and that's going to be more beneficial for expense recognition typically, as opposed to waiting until possibly the end of the pay period, which is where we usually want to pay the bill, which is going to be later on. So in that case, you might want to enter the bill, so we can enter the bill and then pay the bill. We can also group the payments that we want to make by due date that way more easily and manage the bills that we want to pay. So we'll dive more into that next month, where instead of using kind of the cash basis and just writing the checks, we will be entering bills and then write the checks related to those bills for the normal kind of expenses. Just want to pay off one bill just so we can see that method kind of side by side here. So back to our trial balance within Xero, I'm going to select the drop down. We're going to then go on back to the 31st of January. Let's take a look at the 31st of January because that's when we're entering stuff. Going to hold down Control, zoom back in. Let's bring it up to that 125%. Obviously, what's going to be happening here is we're going to be paying something out of the checking account. However, this time we're not going to be paying for the expense. We're going to be paying the bill, which will decrease the liability account, that being the accounts payable. So you see here we owe someone $15,000 or a group of people $15,000 or vendors $15,000. We're going to pay that off, decreasing the amount that is owed, decreasing the checking account. There will therefore be no effect on the income statement at this point in time. What created this is something that happened before we started the company here, so it might have been a purchase of inventory or expense that happened in a prior period. Let's then go back to our first tab. Let's go back to the dashboard. And then this first item up top is where we're going to sort. Actually, I think it's the second item. Let's wait till it pulls up. It's the second item down here where we will sort our bills. So we're going to go to the bills you need to pay. And then we're going to go down and we have entered the bills now. So we have the bills that have been entered. We're looking for these items that are awaiting payment. So you can go into the bills that are awaiting payment. We only have one right now because, like I said, we entered most of our bills in the other format with cash. We'll do more of this next next month when we do next month data entry. But just note, you could sort the bills by who you owe. You could sort by due date, which is the typical method to sort, or you might be sorting by the amount that you need to pay, which are different ways you can sort this. This is a screen that would be used quite often if you're a larger company that deals with a lot of payables and needs to sort these payables and which payments need to be made and when. So next, we're going to decide which ones to make payments on. Now note that if you had multiple items that you want to make a payment on, like write checks from them, you could select all the items here that you want to make payments on and then simply select the make payment item, and you can make the payment by check, the batch payment, create a file to upload to your bank, or pay with bill.com. So that's one method you can be using if you're going to be, and typically if you're going to be making some kind of payment in one of those methods, such as a check. We're going to go into the bill here, so I'm going to select the bill as we have seen in the past for Epiphone. And we see the bill up top. We're going to have the payment down below. So the payment, we're going to pay off the entire thing, the $15,000. If we were only paying off a portion of it, we can put it whatever amount we decide to pay here, and that will leave the amount that is still due outstanding. Then we're going to go to the pay date. I'm going to make the pay date as of, let's say, the 31st this time. So I'm going to go up to the 31st. And then the paid from, we're going to take it right out of the checking account. And if there's a check that we're printing, we would select the check item here, and then we can go and print it as we've seen in prior presentations, how you take the PDF file, format the check, put the check in the printer, print that check into the pre-formatted check, the information onto the pre-formatted check. Then I'm going to say add payment. Before I do, what's going to happen? It's going to be increasing or decreasing the checking account and decreasing the accounts payable. Also note you see the history down here for the transactions that have been put in place, and that could be a useful kind of audit trail. So we have the activity that happened with this Epiphone. We put this on the books when we entered kind of like the beginning balance information. So then I'm going to go back up top and let's go ahead and add this. And once it's done, it should give us some approval up top. Looks good. Let's then go to our trusty trial balance and update that. So we're working with an up-to-date report. And then we're going to go into the checking account, now down to the 148.45, I believe it was. And if we scroll on down to the bottom, we have the payment that we made, which is going to be that 15, taking that amount down. It's going to be here with the payable amount. If we were to select that item, then we're going to go into the payments, the payment here. So there's our payment. I'm going to then go back to the trial balance. Let's go back to the good old TB, the good old trial balance, the trusty trial balance. The other side is going to be in the accounts payable. So then we're going to go down to the accounts payable. It may be gone now because it should be down to 0. So that would be in the liabilities. It's now gone. Accounts payable is now gone because we have 0 balance in it. If I go back to the first tab and we want to check out, kind of the payables and what is owed, I'll go back to the dashboard and go back into it. We can go to the bills you need to pay item here, and then we see that it's basically cleared out. All the bills that we need to pay are cleared out. We could go to see all if we wanted to see all the transactions here. So here's the transactions that we have, and we can go to the paid amounts, and all of them, of course, checked off here are now paid, and we can go into it in that format. We can also go to the contacts if we want to check out the contacts for a particular payment. We knew who it was that we paid, that we had a question about. Now remember, we have 18 total contacts, so the default is they're all in contacts. I'm going to hold down control and scroll up a bit to that 125. They're all in total contacts, and then if there's an outstanding amount, that's kind of, or if they're acting like vendors, that's kind of when they pull down. So our major 2 vendors here being the Epiphone and Gibson. So we paid Epiphone, so let's go, and this is suppliers because we bought inventory from them. So suppliers versus vendors, we're buying inventory. And then if we look at the detail here, we can see the detail of the transaction. Here's the last bill paid that we made for the $15,000.